How we doing? This is Fox back again for sound design tutorials. I am today going to show you how to make a tropical house flute with Serum. There's a lot of tutorials out there of how to do this. We're massive. It's really quite straightforward if I'm honest, so I'm going to do a few with some synths that people haven't used, starting with Serum. I've downloaded, I'll just say quickly, this patch is available to download for free in the description. Also, there will be a link to this virus square wavetable in the same download. Because I've copied a virus square, it's perfect for this sort of sound. It's not so abrupt as, well, I'll show you quickly. If we go to the basic shapes, change it to a square, it's a very, very standard square, robotic style square. This sound lends itself a lot more to sinusoidal sort of shapes, so virus square, smoothed off edges, work with some nice harmonics. So yeah, this is the sound that I've managed to create. There you go. There's always a lot of reverb on these sort of sounds from the ones that I've heard. That MIDI is from a Kygo track. I wanted to try and find the MIDI for the I See Fire, but I couldn't. So this is that Kygo and Conrad one. But hey ho, tropical house. So yeah, I'm going to show you how I made this. So we're going to go ahead and initialize this preset. Saw waves you definitely do not want for a tropical house flute. You want it to be nice and rounded and smooth, as I say, with some noise source. So how we're going to start that is, to start with, we're going to use a sub oscillator. We're going to turn it on. A, B and S are all going to go into a filter, so we'll route all three of them into the filter before we apply a filter. So sub oscillator. Oscillator B is going to be a sine wave also, so we need to go to the basic shapes, change it to a sine wave. All I'm going to do with these is two sine waves, same octave, exactly same sound. I'm going to pan one of them hard to the right, 42, and the sub oscillator all the way to the left, 42. It's going to create a stereo effect, and then the main part of the sound, which is the virus square, is going to take up the middle part of the sound. So we are now going to search for the virus square. Once you've got it, once you've downloaded it, you need to drag it into your wavetable folder, into your users section, and then it will show up as virus square. Just click on it. That's it. I didn't do any, you don't need to do any warping and no modulation on the phase or anything crazy like that. It's all to do with different envelopes, creating different sorts of pluck throughout the sound. What we're going to do is I use envelope 2 and envelope 3 later on in the stage, so I used LFO 1 as an envelope to create the pluck for the envelopes, so you need to check it to envelope mode. Make sure it's on BPM and anchored to a quarter note, so the envelope takes a quarter note to do its cycle, and we just want to drag this pretty much down all the way to the bottom. This is going to control the volume of all three oscillators, so the starting point was virtually off. I normally leave them on slightly around 10 or 12%. Same for all of them. And then drag this LFO to each one. And again, I had these slightly different. The two sine waves were a little bit louder because they are naturally quieter. So I had them around about 70. And then the square wave I had just a tad less, around about 65. So I have two voices of unison for the square, no detune, again just to boost the sort of overall volume of the oscillator A. All three octaves on dead zero. So if you want to make this exactly, these MIDI notes are ranging between, I think it was B3, A3 and F sharp 4, so A, B, C, D, virtually the 3 octave range. So yeah, just a basic pluck at the minute. We're going to introduce a filter at the end. We're going to introduce some noise now, and the noise I chose was the microKORG noise. I applied a envelope to this. The starting point was around about 10%, and it was envelope 3. This wanted to be a really plucky sort of envelope, so I did decay all the way around to about 53 milliseconds. Attack and release as they come as standard. This little ball that shows you like the curve of the envelope wants to be quite high. Drag this to the volume of the noise, and then around about 30%. When we have some reverb later on, that is going to make it sound like the little chuff that I think people have been calling it, where like you can hear like the person blowing the flute at the start of the notes. So still quite basic. We're going to introduce the low pass filter now. We're going to drive it, keep it on the low pass 12. Fat where it comes as standard, quite a bit of resonance. Starting cutoff point is going to be about 50 Hertz. And we're going to use envelope 2 to modulate this. It's a slightly different curve to envelope 3. We want a little bit of an attack. This really helps. Helps soften the attack just slightly so you can hear that noise cutting through. And then the decay wants to be pretty much where it is, 540, something like that, 560. So still quite bland. It's all to do with the effects now. This is how we really change the sound. You need to make sure you get these in the right order. So it's hyper dimension first. We turn the hyper off. The dimension size to about 26 and the mix to about 37, 38, something like that. Just helps widen it out a little bit before we add a bit of filter and a reverb. This trick I saw from watching one of the Massive tutorials. I can't remember who did it. It was a double notch filter. It just helps sort of shift the pitch slightly. So you want to turn the filter on, drag it so it's underneath the hyper dimension, which it will come anyway. You want to change this to one of the multis, and it's NN, which is a notch and a 12 decibel per octave notch filters. Quite a bit of resonance. Drive frequency I had at about 24%. Mix around 44. We're going to modulate this cutoff. This just helps us give a slight bit of pitch blurring. Same envelope 2, what we use for the filter cutoff, we're going to use for this. Around plus 15. Just helps smear the pitch ever so slightly. It's also cutting out some certain frequencies that we didn't want. Subtle, but it's all adding to the sound. And now what brings it all together is a reverb. You need quite a large reverb. The size I had at 37%. A real snappy pre-delay on about 4 milliseconds. No low cut, damping. High cut I just pulled back ever so slightly. Keep the width almost full stereo around 80%. And the mix on 34%. Now, so without the reverb and with. I just clicked it to monophonic. These sort of plucks in this tropical house flute, they very rarely overlap each other. The whole point is to have each note playing individually so you can get the tail of the reverb and all the effects overlapping. You can see what happens if we change slightly the envelope. It's very crucial that you get the filter cutoff and the envelope amount right. Really changes the sound drastically if you have the starting cutoff too low or the envelope destination amount not enough. So yeah, that's the sound done. Real nice tropical house flute in Serum. I'll just show you a little bit of processing I've got on the channel. It's nothing crazy. I've got a tiny little bit of compression. I'll just turn it on. Pulled it down just to increase the overall volume really of everything. I've just got a tiny little cut around 800 Hertz. Something to do with the resonance and the feedback. The reverb tail was creating a bit of resonance there that I just needed to get rid of. If you don't want too much reverb, just control it yourself. 36% was good for me. So yeah, there you go, a tropical house flute with Serum. Make sure you subscribe up here if you enjoyed this. Plenty more Serum tutorials to come. Check me out on Facebook. If you've got any requests, it's Sound Design Tutorials is my page. You need to send me a message with a YouTube link to the sound that you want, and if I can do it, I'll try and get it done. Okay, thanks for watching. Cheers.